everybody. This is Angela, and you're listening to Homeschool Unrefined, the podcast where we keep homeschool simple, real, and fun.
And this is Maren. You've got episode 93, where we relax into high school, with Renee Tougas, part 2. We are going to continue our discussion with Renee in just a few minutes, but first, we just want to say hi to everybody. Thank you all for being here. We are so thankful you're here.
We are. We love this. We love that we get to do this every week.
We do. We love it more and more. And we're also so thankful for our Patreon supporters. We have a new one this week. Katie, thanks for joining our Patreon group. We're so glad you're with us too. So
yes. And so if you are interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, you can go to patreon.com/homeschoolunrefined.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And a little bit about Homeschool Unrefined. If you are new or newer to our podcast, we are a podcast that we really are here to encourage you to kind of change the conversation about homeschool from being a conversation about what we should do. And we want to change it more to a conversation about what you are already doing. Let's give ourselves credit for all the things we're already doing and all the ways we are so great for our kids right now.
Yes, that's good, Maren. That's good.
Thanks,
I like how
Angela.
you said that.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, Maren, how are you
Yes.
doing?
Great. It's been a busy morning as usual. I mean, I feel like, we're always
Yeah.
so busy
Yeah.
before we start recording. I started physical therapy this morning.
Okay.
So, I was in this car accident. We've gone through so many therapies. Have never done PT before.
Okay.
So I'm going to start. I'm really excited about it.
And so was it just an intake or did you
It
actually
was-
start some exercises?
It was mostly an intake, and then we did some exercises. But I have to tell
Okay.
you, one thing I'm kind of worried about with PT is the exercises, the things that I have to practice, that I have to strengthen, the muscles I have to strengthen are teeny, tiny muscles that are like in my neck and my, they're so tiny. And it's not the kind of exercising I like to do. Where I have to kind of sit still. I have to put my hand on my head and just push against my hand.
Okay.
Those kind of things.
Yeah.
It's just real boring for me.
Yeah.
But
But you can do it while you watch something.
So true. I
good.
can do it right now. I might actually get it over with.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I have to commit to doing it though, because those are the things that are going to kind of support my spine and everything. So
Right.
I have to do it.
Right.
But I'm excited to just try something new and,
Yeah.
figure out one other thing that can help me. So
Right. Good attitude.
anyway, yeah. Thank you. How about you? How are you
I'm
doing?
great. I just got back from bringing 2 of my kids to get a haircut because when you homeschool, you can do that in the middle of the day.
Yes. No waiting, no lines.
It was so nice. And this is the other thing I've recently discovered is I like salons where you can book an appointment online.
Oh, yeah. Game changer.
That is
I
going to
love
be
them.
my new go-to.
Yeah.
So to all the salon owners listening,
It's
just know.
the thing to do now.
Oh my gosh. Do you go a place where you can do that?
The place I go to does. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But not my kids. So,
Really?
I don't think
Okay.
so. Yeah.
All right.
so.
Kids hair.
Yep.
They do. They book online.
They do?
Yeah. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because
I'm going
and here's
to
what-
book an appointment right now because seriously, I've been putting it off for weeks.
I know.
Because I don't want to
Because
call.
You have to call and then you have to negotiate with the person online. They're
Yeah.
like, well, do you want morning or afternoon? And you're just like, I need the perfect time. Like, I need 1:15.
On a Tuesday. Just
Yeah.
Do
just, Or like,
make it happen.
or like, you don't want to explain your whole schedule to the person on the.
I
So you usually end up taking something that you kind of, because you just want to get the phone call over with.
Well, we have swimming lessons at 4. And my daughter doesn't like to get up till 8:30. So,
I know.
I have kids who get a little crabby right before lunch. So, yeah.
I know. And then I feel bad when I'm like, no, can you keep looking? No. Keep looking.
Not quite.
No.
Getting closer.
So anyway, and my oldest has a pixie cut, which is, cool and everything. But it also
Very
means
cool.
you got to get your hair cut like every 4 weeks. And she can't just go to kids' hair in her mind.
Yeah.
So I found a salon that books online, and that is so awesome because I woke up this morning and I was just like, I wonder if they have an appointment. They did. We booked it. It was great.
And you just showed up.
And we just
they were
showed
ready
up.
for you. This is the best.
I know. It was the best.
I seriously didn't know about kids' hair, and I'm not kidding you. I'm bringing 2 kids there today.
Okay. Well, they're kind of like, the other thing is they're booked up a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
So you got to plan ahead a little bit.
But during the school day,
I know.
a great time.
Yeah.
But
totally.
There's nothing worse though than going to kids' hair without an appointment.
I know. You don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah. Okay. So we are on to our second part 2 conversation with Renee. If you have not listened to part 1, you should definitely go back and do that first.
I know.
Episode 92, last week's episode.
I mean, it'll probably, it might help you like get in the right context of this conversation, but even more importantly, it's just so good.
It's so good.
There are just so many nuggets.
Yes.
Of goodness. It's going to help you today.
Right.
Like right this minute.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So here is part 2, and we'll come back at the end for our Loving This Week's.
Enjoy.
I think we, as parents, homeschool parents especially, like we kind of think, well, homeschooling is great for younger kids because, like you said, they don't need to learn to read when they're 5. Let's let them wait until they're 8 or whatever. But then at some point, we kind of start tightening our grip a little, and we're like, okay, now you're 13.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little freaked out. I need you to be doing this upper level stuff. And so how do we let go of that grip and just relax about as our kids get older, and just know that they're, if they want to go to college someday, they're going to be fine going to college someday, or, getting a job, or I think we can project in fear a lot. I mean, I'm just talking about myself personally right now.
Yeah. So I have a couple thoughts with that. So there is definitely a like letting go and a trusting process, but I also want to be realistic about people and what people need, and what you as a homeschool mom or what you as homeschool parents need to feel good and secure about what you're doing. Okay. Because it's not just this simple, like, okay, well, we're just going to let go and we're just not going to think about it and they're just going to do whatever. It's like one of these things I think that's really individual for families and for people like in families. And I've done some homeschool coaching and talking with homeschool families and stuff. And I do really believe and support parents that if there are certain things that are really important to the parents, to the family, they are part of their family culture, part of their family context. Parents have this, like, this thing is really important, honestly, quite honestly, for me, for you to learn this thing.
Yeah.
There's space for that.
Yeah.
Like I
honor
feel
ourselves in that.
Yes. It's not, because we are parents. We are hopefully wiser. We have more experience. We're more mature. We've been entrusted with these kids, and we can certainly parent from that and homeschool from that and bring that into it. It's not just well, I feel this real strong tug that my child should do this, but I'm just going to hold back. And I mean, and depending on your spiritual background or something, I mean, you could identify that as some kind of divine inspiration or Holy Spirit or something saying to you, like, this might be important for my kid. Like, I think you have to pay attention to those things. Like,
right. Yeah.
And so, like, I know in our own family, I guess I could explain a little bit.
Yeah.
I can give an example of this. Okay. Sure. So once our kids got to the high school years, I kind of skipped over like the middle school years and kind of what that was like, and we can go back there later.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But when we got to the high school years with our oldest daughter, I always thought that when our kids were high school age, they would have some plan. They would know what they wanted to do. They would be like, I really, I that was always the thing I believed about interest-led learning. Like they would, having developed their interest and having time, they would have some clear idea about what they might want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't true for my daughter.
Okay.
So I was proof false on my own experiment. And and I kept kind of waiting for her to kind of like be, I really want to pursue this thing, whether it was work or studies or whatever after high school. And that wasn't forthcoming from her. So I realized, wait a second, I got to set something up here for her to be like, this is what it's going to look like for you to graduate from high school. Because you don't have a vision for what you want to do. But I want to make sure that whatever it is, when you get there in 3 or 4 years, you will at least have the foundation in high school stuff that you might not have everything you need, because maybe it'll be more specialized in some kind of something, but you will have the foundation so that whatever else you do need, it's not going to be a huge leap to get there.
Yep.
Right?
Sure.
So I set up for her basically the list of kind of what you need to do to graduate from our high school, because we're doing a non-accredited type of homeschool transcript and portfolio stuff for our older two. Okay. So I set that up for her, and they were not things that she was necessarily naturally interested in, or they weren't things she didn't want to do. They just weren't things she had naturally thought of doing,
Yeah.
But me I do have an education degree, and I have, and I have just experience in life. And I'm like, yeah, you have to know how to do a certain kind of writing, and you need to, I think you should have a high school level science lab class. I want you to learn like the ideas about scientific method and all these different things. So we set this up for her, and it wasn't lots of the things she had already kind of accomplished or done on her own, the projects she had done. And some of it was new things she had to take. But there wasn't, in that case with our daughter, after having years of us listening to her, knowing who she is, having built a home environment and a learning environment that was largely based on who she is, there wasn't any kind of, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. It was like, okay, sure.
Okay.
Like, it was, there's like a trust there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
There's
For sure.
like and also she didn't have this clear idea in mind. So she was like, okay, yeah, I guess
I'm
if
ready
this
for
is
some
what-
direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, so that's one example. It's so, there's no formula.
Right.
Okay.
That's
There's
the
no,
thing.
there's no like, well, this is how you do it, because I think it really depends on who you are as a person. It depends on your kids. So that's one kid. My other kids are different. They're totally different than that.
Yeah.
And so I'm always kind of like evaluating how their curriculum looks, or how it looks for them to do school based on who they are, what I know about them, and our relationship with each other, and how that's going to best be achieved. Yeah. It's not a formula.
Yeah. That's actually really comforting to hear, because all of our kids are different. And so when we're imagining our kids getting to that age, my oldest is 13, she's in 8th grade. So I'm thinking about high school. Right. And so when you hear other people talk, you kind of try and think, oh, could my kid do that? What that person said that they do. So it's actually, I think, really comforting to hear that, there is really no formula. And we've also heard this from Julie Bogart, who graduated 5 kids. Like each of her kids were different. They all had a different path and different interests. And, she had to individualize their education. And so that is really comforting to hear that from you, because I feel like it gives me freedom.
Yeah, totally.
It's a little scary. I mean, it's scary because you can't just check off the boxes and say, good, call it good, right?
I did it.
Yep, exactly. But
but also I do also think what it makes me think of is it almost doesn't matter like how hard I push. It matters how hard I push my kids, but if I'm just pushing my kids through and I expect the same result from all of my kids, that's not going to happen. So why would I try that? Because all of my kids need these different things. So why would I just do it this one way?
Yeah, exactly. And that reminds me of something else I wanted to say. Whenever somebody presents me this list of, well, this is what it has to look like, or not maybe presents it, but I see something that somebody else is doing and I'm like, oh, that's the way it has to be done. Yeah. I mean, maybe this is the questioner in me going back to these tendencies, because I ask, well, why? Like so for example, in a high school curriculum and figuring out what subjects are best for your child to take and how you're going to go about achieving that and what they're going to do, I'm always asking, well, why do they have to take all those math classes or all those science classes or whatever it happens to be? Like, is that best for my child? Is that best for their growth and development? Is that going to help them with what they want to do? And granted, I think there's a certain level of, I would call basic literacy, that you need. And for me, that's like English and math and writing. It's communications, also a certain amount of technology literacy, a certain level of science literacy. And I've kept, that's kind of been my standard in my mind for our kids, like kind of this level that I want to get them to, but the way we get there can be vastly different for each child. And then what they all do on top of that, they all will go over and above that in certain areas based on who they are.
Totally. Yeah.
But it's like, I don't just take something out there, whatever the local, whatever the provincial curriculum is, or the I don't know, the homeschool curriculum is being sold, and said, oh, that's what we have to do. It's like, I'm like, why? You know, what are the goals here? What are the end aims? Is this going to help us achieve those? You know, I'm always asking those questions.
Yeah. That's so great. I think a lot of homeschoolers may be like that. I mean, I feel like in general, homeschoolers do question, the traditional system, obviously, because they're homeschooling. And so I think a lot of us can relate to that. And I think, though, I find myself questioning things. Oh, but why? But why? But then also, okay, yeah, and now how am I going to do this?
Yeah, I think that's where, that's where we can kind of flounder. So that's why it's so good for us to hear, to hear from you. It really is. It's just so good. It's good for us to hear from people like you who have done it, are doing it, and are owning it. It's like, this is good. This is good.
Yeah, it is good. I love it. I'm really in these years to see some things that I thought would come true, like when I started, like, oh, my kids will know what they want to do and we'll just tailor a high school to that. Well, that didn't come true for my daughter. Okay. Yeah. But other things, I see the I don't know if it's the fruit or like all this work I put in, all these years, all this time. And it's like, oh, this is where I get to actually enjoy all the, I guess it's the fruit or the good stuff, Yeah. I get to see it like actually working. And you have to adapt and change, and you're proven wrong on some, accounts, but you get to see it in all that stuff you did with them when they were little, and all the ways you trusted and let them be who they were. And then you get to appreciate that as they get older.
Yes. Right. Yes. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we don't necessarily know how that's going to feel in 10 years from now or whatever. So we really need to trust that's going to happen. I loved hearing from you about, how your daughter didn't have a specific direction or, a passion that she knew she was going to do this one thing, because I think this is a fear that I can have sometimes. I just think, well, we're homeschooling so our kids can figure this out. So where's their thing? I want them to figure out their thing now. And that's not what happens. Yeah. And we have to make, like you said, make space for that. Guard their space so they have time.
Yeah. And I think it's really I think no matter what kind of homeschooler you are, like if you're if you're following a certain program and you're like really invested in that program, or you're this interest led, like, oh, it's going to all be passion and stuff. I think at some point we all realize like the limitations of those beliefs, and we realize, oh, we're working with humans.
Yeah.
I'm human, you're human. And so it's not going to actually work out the way we think it all will, whatever that is. Like whatever our bias or philosophy or whatever is, it doesn't kind of work out exactly the way we think it will. And then we get a chance to remember, oh yeah, we're dealing with people, and we get to actually, instead of investing in an idea, we get to invest in this person. We get to invest in this, knowing this person and this relationship, and using that as the way to see our path through that, whatever it is, that challenging or disruptive or disorientating experience where we're like, oh, you're supposed to have a passion. And I thought that's what we were developing, but you don't. You're just kind of a normal, ordinary kind of kid.
Yeah.
You're not a cellist, and you're not a equestrian rider.
Exactly.
I mean, like, I have very ordinary kids. I've got like, and realizing like, oh, so I don't want to have this idea of what homeschooling has to look like, or an idea of what you have to be like. I want you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, not the idea of you.
Yeah.
Like, I want to have relationship with you. And so, and know that we're just so human. And so, like, I know I feel insecure sometimes looking at these homeschool families where like the kids are like stellar, like either academically or musically, or they're just kind of doing these. And I'm like, my kids are just like very average. I mean, I love them, and they're wonderful. They're good people, but like they're average, and they like playing video games and just hanging out with their friends.
Yeah.
And to just be like, oh yeah, this is who you are.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have some kind of idea of who you have to be. I want to know who you are.
Yeah, and that is going to serve them more than anything in their lives, feeling that acceptance.
Yeah. And so if you have this like I did with my daughter, it's like, okay, so you don't have this dominant thing that you really know you want to pursue. So let's make sure that at a base level, you have like the bases covered, whatever we feel those are as a family.
Yeah.
And then I know you can jump from there because you know how to learn. Like, I have no doubt about that. Like when you've had all this time to just explore and research and study and have an enthusiasm for learning, I know you've got this.
Yeah.
Like, so, I did want to share one thing because I wrote this down because I wanted to share it, because I'd asked my son Laurent, last year. I was working on something for someone, and I had wanted him to tell me what he thought our homeschooling was like. Like, I'd asked him, how do you summarize how we've homeschooled? And I think it's really interesting to hear what your kids have to say.
Definitely.
This is how he said it. He said, basically, you and Daddy have assigned us necessary skills to learn and requirements in our education. And we learn those skills like math, English, cooking, etc., with individual methods, and we'll get the rest we need to know from self-directed project work.
Wow.
And then he goes on to say,
sounds great.
You start by letting the kids do what they want creatively and giving them small things they have to do. As they grow up, it becomes natural to have the requirements grow larger, but to continue with your own personal direction.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Does that sound like accurate to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
That's
like
awesome.
There was his idea of requirements was like, we wanted to make sure you had some math and you needed to learn to read. And of course they wanted to. That was like something to do. And if we required cooking and we required cooking, you give them these things. And as they get older, those things naturally also increase from their own desires, from their own things they want to do, from their responsibilities. And also what increases is their own diving into the things that they're really interested in, and it just all kind of all works together.
Yeah.
What I think it comes down to in terms of how you do high school or how you do elementary or how you do any of it. For me, it's about knowing your kids and then listening and responding accordingly. It's I think it's important that we study other ideas, that we don't want to close ourselves off to ideas, and we certainly want to be educated, but there's this sense for me of studying who my kids are, studying, knowing them, and then you just respond based on what you know about them. It's really not more complicated than that. Like it can get in the details, it feels more complicated, because then you have to be like, wow, I don't know what to do with this knowledge. Like,
sure,
you're this or you need this. And then you have to dive into finding the resources and figuring out what's going to work for them. But as a foundation, for me, it's like knowing your kids, listening and responding.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can I give an interesting example of that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Because this is another like kind of twist on how interest-led learning can look. So our youngest, so she is 15, she'll be 16 in November. So for the last year or so, she's kind of been dissatisfied with some of the way some of her schoolwork and classes. So I say schoolwork because my kids are a part of a co-op, a homeschool co-op.
Sure. Okay.
And they do classes there, and it's social, and it's really great. Like I can't imagine homeschooling them through high school without that community. So it's really awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
So it turns out, like in talking with my daughter, and this goes back to like knowing my kids, listening to them and responding. In listening to her and what she needs, she wants a teacher-directed, external rewards, consequences, all these things that I didn't do with her. Like I never graded my kids. I never compared them to other like grade levels. It just, that was not what I wanted to do to them. And she's like, Mom, I need this.
So like, when did you find that out about her? Just wondering. How did you know?
That's been in the last, I've known that she's a more check the boxes kind of person for years, because she's been the kid who has made lists for herself of what to do. Yeah. Like in the day, like she would write down, okay, I do this, and then I do this, I do chores, and then I'm going to do this much math and whatever. So she was the one who was writing those lists for herself, and time management is like a strong thing for her.
Sure.
Like strong skill of hers. So I've known, I guess, like I would say, I don't know, from 10, 11, 12, I started to see her propensity to do that versus my others, because they didn't do that. And then as she's getting to like high school age and really wanting to dive into things, and she likewise doesn't have this strong, like, I want to pursue. She doesn't have a strong idea of what she wants to do. She just wants to make sure she's doing everything well. Like, am I doing this well?
I have a daughter like that too.
Yeah. And so realizing that about her, I was like, oh, then that's what it looks like for her. What interest-led and self-motivated learning looks like for her is giving her those things that help her reach her goals.
Yeah.
And it was surprising to me, like not completely, because I know who she is, but it was like this irony, really. Yeah. It was an irony. Because I was like,
we're homeschooling. You don't have to do any of this.
Exactly. And then to realize, like, I'm not great at that. You know, I'm not going to be the one providing that for you.
Sure.
Like I can if you need, so then what I do is you bring in other resources, other classes, other things, because that's what she wants.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I feel like she's choosing it. She's stepping into it. Again, there is no pushing on my part. It's not like I don't have to then do any kind of like, well, you really have to do that thing. You have to get on that assignment. I'm saying, I don't care. Like, I don't care if you do it, don't do it. But it matters to her. So it's like this, it is self-motivated.
Yeah.
It's like her saying, this is what I best.
That is the best way to do it for her, you know, because if you had come in, you probably would have gotten a different result. If you were like, okay, and now, you know, you're in high school and this is what you need to do. Here's these, 20 things. By the time you graduate, if you had come in and told her she had to do all that, you might have gotten a different response.
Yeah,
but
I might have.
She came to you. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it kind of,
if you would have done that way for all of your kids, it wouldn't have been self-motivating for them at all. It would have been you on, getting on them, right? Probably. So
it's just so, it looks many ways.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I think high school age or teenage age kids are hard for a lot of us to understand. And we hear stories, like, oh, that's really hard, or, it's so awful, or they...
Teenagers.
Yeah. And so I am just curious. I know your kids seem lovely, and I'm just so curious, what do you love about having kids this age? And what is also challenging for you?
Yeah. So first of all, you will not hear that from me about teenagers. Like there certainly are challenging things in our relationship, and there are things that have been difficult for my husband and I in helping each of our kids. But I don't see that as like a teenage thing. I just see that as a person in growth and development.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this stage. But I think I've said that actually about every stage, but so some specific things. So they're funny. My kids are funny. They have this wicked sense of humor. You can loosen up.
That is the best.
You can loosen up around all the things, right? These things, like I can swear more.
Yeah.
Just little things like that,
Sure.
and it's just like teenagers. This is all cool. We can do this. And you can have
You can handle this now.
Yes, you can handle this. And you can have intelligent conversations. Of course, you can have intelligent conversations with young children too. And I've always enjoyed talking with my kids, but we're talking about deeper things, different things. We listen to podcasts together. We have these really interesting discussions, and I just see more clearly who they are and who they're becoming. And it's very exciting for me just to see that. And sometimes I think I'm more excited for them about their future than they are, perhaps.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. They don't. Yeah. I just see all these things, and I'm really excited for them. And I don't know. I think just being with them for all these years, I don't know. I think I have a really good relationship with my kids. Like I feel almost apologetic about it, because you're like, people talk about having their teenagers and it's so tricky and challenging, and their kids go off the rail.
Yeah. It's so great to hear that, because what you just previously talked about was how you didn't have this tight homeschool, you didn't have these specific expectations. You let them figure out what they wanted to learn. I mean, there was just so many things that you let go of, and look at the result. You have a great relationship with your kids. So, I mean, it's good for me to hear that. Good for me to hear that as a, a parent of younger children, that I can let them be who they are when they're a kid. And that very much helps your own relationship and their own learning and their own development as a person throughout their teenage years.
I feel like you're getting the payoff from really focusing on that relationship when they're younger, and letting them know that, having them feel like you trust them and you're hearing them and you believe them. And so now when they're teenagers, it's going more smoothly because you haven't been like more authoritarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always feel a little nervous talking about that out loud, because I know things can get rough.
Right. Yes.
And it's not that it's been perfect, and it's not like we haven't had challenges. Like we do. Like we've gone through different things with each of our kids that have been challenging, but I feel like the lines of communication are always open.
Yeah.
And I still feel like the kids know, like, we are totally on your side. We trust you. And I also feel like the kids respect us. It's like been this mutual, like, so that whatever we're going through, we feel like we've been able to work through it.
Yeah.
Because things are hard. You have all kinds of things in teen years that come with growth and development that kind of can throw people off for a while, and emotions and all that. But it's been great.
Yeah.
And what I I have loved about homeschooling through high school for us is that we're in this co-op. I mentioned that. We're in a co-op, and so we have this community of people. And so I'm a part of a community of people raising kids and homeschooling them together. And that's been an amazing experience. To just be investing in other people's kids' lives and know that I've got these other people investing in my kids' lives.
Yeah.
And like just this weekend, so we just came home this morning from like a camping trip this weekend that we did, where we went out, and it was like so much fun to see all these kids like in these cabins together and running around through the woods, and just for me, it's like my heart is like the happiest. It's like my happiest face. Like that my kids have community, and they're in a good space. They're supported, they're loved.
Yeah.
You know, like it's really satisfying.
Yeah, what more could you ask for? That is just wonderful.
So, which is interesting because it kind of the flip side of that is also what's challenging for me about high schoolers is that this social community aspect is like a kind of a new phenomenon for us in the high school years. So as when our children were elementary, we were very family focused. Like we weren't a part of a co-op. The kids had very few, like they didn't have lessons or soccer or stuff because we just did stuff as a family. Like that was just who we were. So we were always doing stuff as a family. We were hiking together on the weekends. It was family, family, family. And it was great. Like it was I think it was a great way to do those years. Sure. And then the middle school years, we had like a lot of family adventuring, and we did hike the Appalachian Trail, and we had all this like it was a really adventuring time for our family. And then we saw that our kids needed community and friendship and support, and they needed to kind of grow into who they were as individuals.
Sure.
So we had all these years of really focusing on family and family culture and who we are as a family. And then I think that's a really natural shift.
Absolutely.
To just be like, okay, you are growing into who you are individually, and now we're going to focus on that. So we actually made a very conscious decision and choice as parents and as a family. That's when we moved to Montreal. So we shifted focus, and it's been for 3 years now very much. We make decisions around the kids' interests, like financial decisions, time decisions. So like we used to do all this hiking together as a family. And now it's like they have got too many other commitments and friends and classes, but that's what we want for them.
Yeah.
Right.
We want them to develop who they are as individuals, and because they're gonna not all stay with us forever. I mean, sad as that is. And they have to learn who they are independent of us. And we wanted them to have that during their high school years and really safe kind of way with us, just to kind of grow into independence and for us to support that. Yeah. So that's what's also for me challenging about these years is that it is the effort. A lot of effort goes into these out of the home things.
Sure.
And I'm a real homebody.
Yeah.
And we had this like when they were little, and it was all just reading on the couch and doing stuff together. And it was so homey. And now it's driving and schedules and taking you there and that was really, that shift was challenging for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes those seasons have been stressful. There's been some like in the co-op that we're a part of, there's a drama production every spring. It's super intense. We just spend it's like a full-time job to do this. And I was like, I used to homeschool, and now I just do this other group thing. And I'm kind of I want to do things my own way. And so that has been like the challenging thing. But there could be a lot worse challenging things.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. Yeah.
Sure. But it's been a growth thing for me to let go. It's interesting, this idea of letting go in a different way.
Sure.
Letting go my own kind of like, oh, it's just all at home. And it's this kind of slow, like it's sped up.
Oh yeah.
Like crazy. And I've learned now to go with it and and it's been good, but it's also challenging.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. So, Renee, one of the things that we admire about you is that you are very open-minded about technology and kids with your kids. And I think it's very easy for us as parents, especially now when there's technology everywhere, that we kind of don't even want to have anything to do with it, or, we get scared of it. We get scared.
Mm-hmm.
So, we know that some of your kids have curated some online spaces for themselves, and you're really cheering them on in those endeavors. Can you give us some advice on that big topic?
Yeah, I'll try to keep this kind of concise. I'm not honestly, like, to go back when you say about advice, to go back to what I've already said, I really feel this is like a know your kids, listen and respond accordingly.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Within the context of your family life and your family culture, because people land in different places on this, and that's called being human. That's called life. That's called, like, so I would not be prescriptive at all in saying, well, this is what it should look like for your family. So for us, we are a real tech household, just because of who we are as people. My husband is a web developer, like a software engineer.
Yeah.
And
right off the bat, you have technology going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So off the bat, we see technology as a tool to work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a tool of how my husband earns an income and how a lot of people earn income.
Yes.
And so we've always had this kind of mindset then as technology as a tool. And because of that, it's also for us, it's a basic literacy skill. Like when I think about my long-term goals of like graduating my kids, tech use and wise tech use and knowing how to use the tools that they need to use for their particular things that they're exploring, that's on my list of things you have to graduate with. Because we really see, like my husband, he's a pretty smart guy in that realm, and watches trends and watches what's happening to the labor force and to people's jobs and all these things.
My husband is just like this too.
Yes.
So
exactly.
It's so important for him, especially that my kids know what they're doing.
Yes. And like the ability to change, to adapt, to manage new technology.
Yes.
And stay on top of technological change and not be afraid of using things. We see that as like a basic skill.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of our perspective.
Yeah.
It's like this is the world we live in, so we want you to have the tools.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, like our kids are a bit older, and honestly, like, you know how you always people say, "Oh, I'm so glad I wasn't raising kids. I'm not raising little kids now." Like, because it'd be so hard. And it actually, I feel like it gets trickier and trickier. Like the more tech and stuff, like for younger kids, because I'm not raising a 2-year-old right now or a 3-year-old where everybody's on phones and apps and things. So my experience was that when our kids were little, they're like 19, 17, 15. Okay. So that's the context. When they were really little, we had really little, I should say, elementary aged. So when they were elementary aged, for us, it was like they could spend 1 hour of kind of mindless tech use. Okay, whatever, like YouTube watching or just video game playing or that kind of thing. That corresponded with they had to be outside for 1 hour. So this was like you do outside for 1 hour and you get 1 hour of this. But we didn't, that was like kind of mindless. If you're using tech for creating something, if you're making things, if you're drawing, if you're connecting with friends, that to us, something different.
Yeah.
You know, we don't lump it all together.
Yeah.
It's like
free time. Yeah. There's free time and then there's work time. Yeah.
And they're also using technology as the tool to connect with people, like our daughter who's a introvert, and we lived out in the woods. And I mean, if she couldn't get on forums and chat.
Oh, sure.
She wouldn't have had friends. Like, so, you know, I'm like, let's just think like realistically
Yeah.
here about what we need these things for. So that
Totally.
was when they were younger. And now as high schoolers, we don't have rules for them. We don't have any kind of like, we just simply have a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
And we just
Good.
talk about what we're doing. We also have a small apartment, and everything is almost done all in open. Like
Mhm,
on
mhm.
the dining room table, in the living room, there's never closed doors with
Yeah.
computer usage, just because we're actually pretty much, we all like just being in the same space, and and so we
Yeah.
don't, there are definitely, people have safety concerns about kids being on, and I totally understand that. So that's how we manage that. But like, so I would say, just to kind of summarize that for us, it's, we have this idea of technology as a tool, just like you and just like us right now. We're having this conversation because
Yeah,
of we can use
right.
technology.
Right. For sure.
Exactly.
This is a tool for us.
This is the reality of our world right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we see that for our kids. And
Mm.
so we are always encouraging that kind of use of technology and learning, and then also being realistic that, yeah, technology lets us do a lot of mindless stuff. And let's have conversations around that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's hold each other accountable, in how we do that. Cause like I can Netflix, YouTube binge or whatever, just
Yeah.
like, just like my kids,
Yeah,
right?
right,
So,
right.
although I should say I'm not really big into YouTube, but I can do the Netflix thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can hold each other accountable, and we can just talk about it,
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's where I land on that.
I think that's great. I just had a conversation with one of my 9-year-olds today. And he was saying, I was watching this one YouTube video and I just didn't feel like it was that great for my brain. But then I watched this other YouTube video and I just thought, yeah, this is good for my brain. And I don't know if I would have agreed with that. It was, how to play a video game or something. But he's like, it just was more helpful to me. And I just thought, great.
He's
okay,
thinking
great.
about
I'm glad you're evaluating that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly. That's really cool. And I think that's more important. The self-evaluation skills
Right.
are more important than having definitive rules about like, well, this you can do and this you can't. And
Yes.
because those things are going to change all the time.
And those are going to go away when you move out of the house. Nobody's going to tell you what you can and can't do anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then what? And then what happens if
Yeah.
there's no rules?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you want them to be thinking about that for themselves.
Yeah. But,
So good.
and having said that, we can still give our kids rules when they need them.
Right,
That's always,
exactly.
you know what I'm saying?
Limitations, definitely.
Yeah.
So good.
All right, Renee, one other thing that we really admire about you is your sense of adventure. And you've talked about this a little bit, but you really prioritize getting outside with your family. That's, like you said, how you guys did lots of hiking when your kids were younger. When your kids were like middle school age, you hiked the Appalachian Trail with them. And we are actually going to talk more about that in Patreon. So if you're interested, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you will be able to hear that conversation. But I'm just curious, can you tell us a little bit more about this sense of adventure you have? Why is this important to you? And how do you think it helps strengthen the bonds of your family?
Yeah. So yeah, the outdoors and like physicality in the outdoors is really important to us. And I would say it's one of our core family values. We have probably 4 or 5. And I will say, like, my husband probably, his influence was really important in that. And I came on board with that. And now that as much defines my own values and that, but that was one of those things that he kind of led in and that was important to him and that he brought, So, so much good has come out of spending time outdoors together. And I think that the best way to summarize that or explain it is, I think that when you spend time outdoors, you just, how do I say this? It's like you become a better human in that it's like you're getting in touch with that part of being a human that is not about the necessarily your intellect or the space that we live in.
Yeah.
It's like this other really important part of being human, being out, being in this natural environment. And so, I mean, that on itself, I feel is like valuable enough just to have that experience of the very much like, what does it feel like to be cold in nature, to be warm, to hike up a mountain, to see things, to experience the physical things and the things you like that you physically experience, but then also to spend that time together. So I guess if you were just doing it solo, by yourself, you'd have just kind of this personal thing. But when you're doing it together as a family, it was like not just physical, but it was also relational and all this time. And I think that's the key. It's like it was a time and space apart from our normal, quote unquote, normal life, although the outdoors became a part of our normal life. But it was a time and space in which there wasn't much else happening. Like, let's say a day-long hike, okay? There's not much else happening besides walking and talking.
Yeah.
Like that's what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I would say like it has been a key part in developing a relationship with each other. To have just all that undistracted, non-distracted, whatever, like what's the word for that?
Yes.
Without distractions.
Without distractions. Let's just say that.
And so though doing those things together, I feel it strengthened us individually because as a person, like my kids physically are stronger from doing this. Okay.
Yeah.
They physically have a sense of their physical abilities and the strength in their body, like, and what you can handle and what you can do. But then you also have this collective experience as a group and as a family where you have all this time where you've gotten to know each other. It's really funny because, I mean, when we're at home, we have all this time together too. And my husband has worked from home for the last 7 years. So but it's different. It's just not the same because there's nothing else taking us away into our separate things.
Right.
And so it's been like, I would say it's been like this thing where you reconnect with kind of this thing of being human, like what it means to be a natural being, what it means to be like in nature.
It's so true.
And then also this relational aspect of having time together and connecting us with each other in a time and space. And like, I feel like we've had some of our most amazing conversations and like just the things that take longer to kind of explore and hear each other out on and talk about. And it's just been time for all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so great. I do find like when we really get out into nature that we all feel this sense of like the world is not revolving around us and our to-do list and, the groceries and, just all that stuff kind of just goes away for a little while. And we realize just our part in the world. It's just not just us doing things and getting things done all the time.
Exactly.
The whole world
it's like
is for us. Yeah.
Yes. It's like a state of being, maybe.
Yeah.
Instead of a state of doing.
Yes, exactly. Even though you're doing things out in nature, it just feels like I feel like I feel my sense of like where I am in nature, or, I don't know, my rank or something. It's just different. Like I am not putting myself on this pedestal and like I'm the leader of the world or something. That's how it kind of feels when I'm at home and taking care of the business and stuff. But suddenly I realize who I am, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Because for me, spending time in nature is very much like that. And it just kind of grounds you.
Yeah.
And you have a sense of who you really are, as a being.
Yeah. Renee, you wrote
that.
something a long time ago that has still stuck with me. That something about how you're not really focusing on like sports for your kids, like a group sport thing, but you're more trying to encourage like being physical. How did you put it? Like lifelong physical skills, like, you know, bike riding or hiking, or I don't know. It's more like more physical activities like that you can do as a family, or that you are going to do forever. And that really, really stuck with me.
Yeah. And that's partly just because of who we are. Like, this is, again, this whole idea of what is your family context and family culture. That's just who we are as people. Quite selfishly, like, we didn't want to be soccer parents. Okay. I have nothing against, like, if that's what my kids really wanted to do, I would be like, okay, that's what we'll do it. Yeah. But it just wasn't what we did because we were too busy doing other stuff. It was almost like the selfishness. I just have to be honest, where we wanted to be doing the things too. Yeah. Like, my husband was like, I want to spend the day outdoors in nature. I want to do stuff. And with my kids, I don't want to sit on the sidelines. You know, I want to be doing the stuff with them. So it's kind of selfish, but it's just how we did it. And also, we feel like these are things you're going to do all your whole life.
Yeah.
Like, and there's nothing wrong with organized sports. And I think they're really great for a lot of families and a lot of kids. And my kids now at their teenage years, especially soccer, I mean, that's actually a great thing you can pick up though anywhere. That's a pretty easy pickup game. But they love playing that with their friends. But the idea of like doing these activities they're like lifelong. Yeah. Lifelong healthy things.
Yeah.
So great. So great. Renee, thank you so much for being here. And I think we thought we were just going to talk about high schoolers today, but I feel like this was just an all-encompassing time of complete encouragement and vision for our future. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks. Really kind.
Do you want to just tell everyone maybe where we can find you? Where can we hear more of you?
Well, I blog. I've been blogging for 14 years. So that's at reneetougas.net. You guys will probably have like a link or something.
Yes,
you'll spell it out
we
for
will
people.
Definitely put that in the show notes.
Okay. So also, if you just Google my name, it'll come up. But so my blog, I'm also on Instagram. I like Instagram because it's like microblogging.
Yeah.
I like little pictures of microblogging. Yeah. And also, I will be launching a Patreon community very shortly, like yourselves. But that's just new coming. But the best place would be my blog.
Yeah. I'm excited for you to have a Patreon. We love Patreon because it's really, we formed a great community in there. So I'm excited for you to do that too.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm excited about that too. Yeah.
Great.
All right. Thanks, Renee. Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
All right. Another great conversation with Renee.
I know. That was so good.
Yeah.
I'm going to be re-listening to that one.
Definitely.
Myself.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't even get it all in. I mean, I definitely didn't catch all the goodness the first time for sure. So
yes,
it's a good one to re-listen to.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to loving this week.
Let's do it.
Angela, what are you loving?
I am loving a female urination device.
Okay. Diving into this. Wow. Okay.
I'm diving into this. I don't know why it took me so many years to get on this train. I know you have one. You have the Go Girl.
Mm-hmm. Yep. For camping and hiking and things like that.
Yeah. So this allows the women to basically pee in the woods or something like Amanda's.
Exactly.
And
so
they're
getting your clothes full of stuff you don't want. Yeah.
Right. So I know you have the Go Girl, and I love that name, and I wanted to get it for the name.
That was the reason.
It is.
It is a good name.
It's so cool. Yeah. It's so cool. But you've had a few issues with it. Sorry, I don't mean to. Sorry that I brought this up to everyone. Not you. Actually.
No, actually.
Besides you, I've heard from lots of people who've had issues with this.
Yeah, but good. Great. Yeah, it wasn't me. No, actually, I've been meaning to talk about this on the podcast, how funny that situation was. I could tell you the whole story, but that's for another time.
We'll save that for later. Okay. I'm sorry. I did not mean.
outing me. It's fine.
To out you. But honestly, besides you, I have heard from other people who have had issues
I
with
know.
this.
Yeah.
Like leaking.
Yeah.
And the whole reason that you use it is so that you don't get stuff on your clothes. Because I am not a good squatter. I can't squat
It's so tough.
without getting stuff on my clothes. So, anyways,
It's
I
kinda
did
hard
some
for
research.
kids too. It's if you want your girls to do it, then it's
My kids can do it fine.
oh okay.
They are totally fine with squatting and not getting anything on their clothes.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
I mean with the Go Girl.
Oh, it's hard
you
for them
know,
to
like,
figure it
You
out.
have to be really good at it, I think.
Okay. So I have a new one. It's called Venus to Mars.
Okay.
It was like, I think $12 or
Oh my
$11 or
goodness.
something on Amazon.
Worth it.
It's
So worth it.
I was trying to think about how to describe it because we're on a podcast. It's shaped kind of like a toilet paper towel roll and cut in half, basically.
Like cut in half the long way. The
long way.
So it's just like a half a
Half
tunnel.
of a
yeah.
half of a tunnel.
Yeah.
And it's slick. We went camping last weekend or last week for a night. I used it lots.
Good.
It is a game changer because
You were not near a bathroom.
well, I wasn't near a bathroom
Which
and I'm scared in the
Yeah,
middle of the
yeah,
night.
yeah.
I am scared. And it just makes me not want to go camping. And I also I have to pee a lot. So I'm not one of those who can just go at 9 and then be done.
I thought it was so funny. We woke up the next morning and asked our kids, does anybody need to go to the bathroom? And they were all like, no. What?
I know.
It's unbelievable.
I think it's also mental for me. It's just
yeah.
I'm like, uh-oh, am I going to have to go? Am I going to have to go? And I worry about it because I'm so scared to go out in the dark by myself.
I see, yeah.
Yeah.
Not every day. You aren't just thinking
Not
about it.
every day, just when I'm camping. And also, my husband has a hunting shack on this remote land in the woods, and he always wants me to go with. And there's this outhouse,
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
which I hate
Yeah.
going in. So I feel freedom. I feel freedom now that I have this.
I'm excited for you, and now I want to get a couple because actually, I was just thinking about this. I really want one for the car for road trips because, when we go on road trips, it's often there's no big cities. We're going up to northern Minnesota, and there's sometimes not even a gas station nearby, and somebody has to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I would like that for even just
pulling over on the side of the road.
Into the woods or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, I didn't think about that.
Yep. I've needed that before too. So, and then one for our camping gear.
But if you went hiking or, for a long period of time,
Yeah.
more than an hour,
Yes.
it's awesome.
I'm so excited.
It would be awesome.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So thanks for trying that out.
Yeah. And how about you, Maren? What do you love?
Okay, I'm loving a movie that I'm sure anybody who has seen it also loves it.
Oh,
A Star is Born.
you saw that?
I'm sorry. I know.
I was going to ask you if you wanted to go.
I've been waiting to talk to you about this. It's been killing me. It's been so hard.
I feel like you cheated on me, kind of.
I'm so sorry. Actually, I'll go see it again.
Okay, sure.
Any day. I'm not kidding you. It was better than I thought it was going to be.
Isn't going to win Best Picture? Yeah. Okay.
And it's going to, you know who's going to win? Lady Gaga.
Really?
She's my new favorite. She's my new favorite person in the world. I'm not even kidding you because of this movie.
Person in the world?
Yeah. I'm not kidding. This week, she's my favorite.
Wow.
She tore it down. She is amazing. Oh my goodness. And then Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
I was speechless. I barely recognized him. I was like, I know that's Bradley Cooper. But he isn't, there's nothing he did or the way he acted made me think he was Bradley Cooper at all. He was just this completely different persona.
Wow.
Completely.
So just give us a little synopsis.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Bradley Cooper is, he plays a rock star. And so he's super famous, and he meets a woman in a small bar who is just like a small time entertainer, whatever, just trying to make it.
Okay.
And it's Lady Gaga is the actress. And
Yeah.
they just meet, and they fall in love, and she starts performing with him, and then they fall in love, and
Yeah.
it's this whole story.
Aw.
And it does not go the way you would ever think it would. It does not
Oh,
go
really?
where you think it's going to go. Because, I mean,
Okay.
seriously, so many times during the movie, I was like, I think I know where this is going. I think I might be done with this movie. Like, if that's where this is going,
Oh.
I'll be like, all right. It was an okay movie.
Yeah.
It never did. It never went the way I thought it was going to go. And it was just, their chemistry is like fireworks the whole time.
Wow. Cannot wait. Is it a musical kind of?
I mean, they sing a lot.
Okay.
They definitely sing. You know, they have lots of clips of concerts and stuff like that. So,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And we, Sean and I actually went to it on Saturday night, and we got tickets to like a Dolby surround sound.
Okay. Yeah.
Performance of it or whatever. So, which we didn't try to, but that's what was available. So that was pretty awesome too, because of the great music. But
Yeah.
oh my
Wow.
goodness, yeah, so good. It wasn't. I mean, it's very dramatic. It's a drama.
Yeah.
Which is not.
I like
It's
those.
not always my favorite. So that was that was the one drawback for me.
Okay.
There's sadness
Yeah.
and stuff that I don't handle very
Yeah.
well. I just don't handle it very
Yeah.
well.
I'm gonna eat that up.
Oh, you are. You are.
Yeah.
I was thinking about you. Oh my goodness. But
Oh, I can't wait. So I'm already mentally thinking of my
Yeah,
schedule and when I
I
can
know.
go. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. It's gonna have
I
to be
can't
soon.
wait for you to see it. I can't wait.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing.
Yes.
And if you are interested in following us on social media, we would love that. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Homeschool Unrefined. We have a closed Facebook group called Unrefined Homeschoolers that we'd love to have you join. If you do, make sure you answer the questions so we can let you in.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a website, homeschoolunrefined.com, with show notes and links to everything that we talked about. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening.
Homeschool Unrefined is created and produced by Maren Gorse and Angela Sizer. Ethan Miller is our editor, and Amanda Ginn is our VP of all the important things.